Okay, so when we talk about the war on drugs, most people just kind of roll their eyes, okay? We've been talking about the war on drugs forever, and it doesn't make any difference at all. So another failed campaign, another round of speeches, another generation is caught in the crossfire. But what if I told you that the drug war that you're actually watching today has almost nothing to do with cocaine or fentanyl? I think the average person would go, yep, that sounds true. And I believe it is. It has everything to do with oil and minerals and the rebirth of American sovereignty. What you have to understand about Donald Trump is he is reshaping everything. Just as the WEF said, we're going to go for the Great Reset, we're going to reshape the world. He's doing that single-handedly. He is taking on everything and reshaping the world to have a stronger America, and one that is protected, not mired in endless wars, and strong financially and militarily, so we can protect ourselves with American sovereignty. So what's taking place right now in South America is not a narcotics operation. Again, this is my opinion. You know, I was talking about it yesterday, and I'm like, it's like the Monroe Doctrine. This may be as important as the Monroe Doctrine, which the Monroe Doctrine was in this hemisphere. Don't screw with any of our allies. You're not going to put, enemy ships, and you're not going to play around with countries in our hemisphere. This is our hemisphere. America is supreme in this hemisphere. You do your own thing. But then we kind of got weak on that, and now China is all over. Russia was all over the southern part of the Western Hemisphere. So what he's doing is he's putting a new Monroe Doctrine together. That's Donald Trump. Now, look at the map. You really have to look at it, because I could say imagine the map, and nobody can imagine them. Venezuela, Guyana, Colombia. Okay? 3 names you almost never heard anything about on cable news 5 years ago. And suddenly, they're the front page priorities for Washington, D.C. and our military. What? Well, they're smuggling drugs. Well, yeah, they might be. But they're also doing a lot of other things, including, as we told you, terrorist island in Venezuela. They have Hamas and Iran in Venezuela. But whoever controls this little triangle controls the Western Hemisphere and controls the Western Hemisphere's future, its energy, its minerals, and its manufacturing independence. And Venezuela is the fulcrum. Okay, it holds the largest crude reserves on Earth, and it's oil that is perfectly suited for America's Gulf Coast refineries. But China and Russia have been moving in. They're like vultures sitting there offering loans and sweetheart deals to Venezuela, and Venezuela has become more and more communist and more hostile to America. And they are trying to mortgage that entire system to Beijing's state-run oil giants. So what are we doing? Well, we haven't done anything about it. We've just let them go in. Now, all of a sudden, we're doing Navy drills in the Caribbean, and we're doing sanctions. We are moving more ships and more naval assets. I mean, it is a full-fledged onslaught. We are sending a message, and I don't know we're sending a message just to the drug lords, okay? This is a pressure campaign that kind of looks like the old drug war, but is really, I believe, designed to crowd out the Chinese influence. This is about keeping Venezuela's energy in the Western family, not letting it become another victim of the Belt and Road initiative and a pawn of China. Then there's Guyana, which I thought was in the other hemisphere. I had no idea it was on this continent that's, just below us, apparently called South America. It's tiny. It is quiet. And suddenly a gold rush of oil. Now, an American company, ExxonMobil, leads the charge there. And Washington isn't just helping fight traffickers. It's defending America's offshore platforms. They're building radar networks. They're locking down the entire coast because it's not just about barrels. It's about cables. It's about information. It's about pipelines. It's about rare earth minerals. All of those things are going to power the next century. And then Colombia, we know because that was the first thing that all of a sudden Donald Trump started talking about Colombia. And then the Panama Canal. And everybody's like, what are we talking about? Were we back in 1958? No, nobody had talked about it. Nobody had paid attention to it. This guy is so far ahead of the curve. He is so far over the horizon. I don't think people really understand what he's doing. Colombia is the hinge between the Caribbean and the Pacific. So we were told for decades that the U.S. military presence there was about fighting the cartels. Maybe. But I think the truth is that Colombia is the geographic and logistical bridge between the hemispheres, okay? It guards both oceans. It buffers the Panama Canal. It sits atop minerals every modern economy needs now, lithium, rare earth, all of this stuff. You control Colombia, and you control the Western Hemisphere's arteries. Now, that's not drug interdiction. That's grand strategy. This hour, I kind of want to make sense of the world for you in two things. And it all hinges around a theory that I'm peddling. A theory, and I could be wrong on this, that when I look at all of the dots, they don't make sense. You know, this is about that submarine with cocaine in it. Really? Is it? We're sending our entire military out to get the submarine with... I mean, I want drugs to stop. I get it. But really? Doesn't make sense to me. So the dots don't make sense. And there's too many up on the board that just don't make sense unless you start to frame it in another direction. And I did this last night with not only South America and what we're doing with Venezuela and the, quote, drug war, but also gold. And so I want to finish this in a minute, and I want to move to gold because I want to tell you, I think there's a grand strategy here that everyone is missing, okay? So why does all of this matter? Trump is the first president since Reagan, I think, to understand that America's strength doesn't come from endless foreign wars. It comes from owning the supply lines, from building the sovereign trade, the energy, the technology pipelines, all of the stuff that runs all the way through our hemisphere, not Beijing. So he's not trying to make America the world's policeman anymore. He's not doing that. He's making us the secure citadel. He is forcing every region, Europe. Think about what he's done with NATO. What is he doing? We're not going to be your policeman anymore. You got to step up to the plate. You got to do it. The Middle East. We're not going to be policemen here anymore. All of you Arabs, you do it. You get together. You make peace. He's brokering peace and also saying to the rest of the world, you need to step up. And he's doing it in Latin America to the police themselves. Every move you see, sanctions, seizures, aid freezes, even visa crackdowns. This is all, I believe, about locking down critical resources before China does. This is economic warfare disguised as moral policing, okay? And the irony is, it may be one of the smartest uses of the drug war apparatus we've ever seen. This one actually might work and do something. So let me tell you something that nobody else is telling. Let me give you what everybody else is missing. This is not about ideology. This is not about drugs. This is about global architecture. Trump is tearing down the old corrupt order, the WEF Great Reset corrupt global order, and he is building one not on dependency and debt and endless intervention. He's chopping the trees down, he's paving a road, and he's laying the asphalt for a new one, a hemisphere that produces its own energy, defends its own borders, works together, and reclaims the American right to chart its own destiny while encouraging all other countries to do exactly the same. And he's making as many allies as he can in any way he can. That's what's really happening, I think, behind the headlines. While everybody else is like, should we do this? Before you talk about a drug war, ask yourself, does that make sense? Now, to everybody who is, no kings, yeah, that might make sense, because you're not thinking anyway. I invite you to look at a much bigger picture. We know the rest of the world was way down this path of a new global world government and a global world order. We also know Donald Trump was never for that. We know that Donald Trump doesn't like wars. So why do we have the military at Venezuela, of all places? Because this is not about chasing smugglers through jungles. This is about chasing China and Russia out of our own backyard. It is a quiet, strategic, and I think, if I'm right on this, a brilliant reset. Because if Trump succeeds, historians are going to look back at this time and call it for what it truly is, the Second Monroe Doctrine. The moment America stopped apologizing for defending its own hemisphere and began rebuilding its own sovereignty. Trump believes in a strong America, America first. That doesn't mean we're going to leave every other country alone. It just means we have to do the things that we have to do to make sure that we are strong enough and strengthen the countries around us as well, and the countries that we have been protecting all these years, give them the impetus and also the ability to come together in their own regions and rebuild and protect their own sovereignty, one barrel, one chip, one border at a time.